My parents have been infected with the new coronavirus for several days.
My parents were Vulcan construction workers during the pneumonia outbreak.
My parents are the carriers of the outbreak.
My parents are now doctors in Wuhan.
My parents are mask manufacturers. They say that they usually do not feel that their occupation is very important, but when the epidemic breaks out, they must do everything they can to help our country and people to overcome the difficulties. Before, China was the world's largest mask manufacturer and exporter, with an annual output of about 60% of the world. When the epidemic did not occur, the maximum daily output of China's masks was more than 20 million. However, at this serious moment, due to the large demand, the supply of masks is seriously insufficient, and the number of masks in many hospitals across the country was zero. To make matters worse, the factory has no labor force because most of the workers returned to the hometown for the Spring Festival. So my parents asked for help everywhere, recruiting some nearby residents to work with 5 times the daily salary. And even in this condition, the operating rate was still less than 30% to 40%. In addition, in the case of the closure of the city, the industrial chain was difficult to operate, and the photo raw materials of masks could not be purchased, which masks could not be produced or transported. Due to the lack of employment and the challenge to purchase raw materials, the resumption of production at the factory was less than half of what it was before the epidemic. Even if workers usually work more than 15 hours a day, the output will not increase. Recently, my parents worked overtime with workers in the factory every day and rarely went home. I could only learn to take care of my own life at home. I hope the epidemic will end soon and the new coronavirus pneumonia could be controlled and treated as soon as possible, so that not only my parents can go home, but also all the medical staff, soldiers and patients who have suffered from this disease can get rested as soon as possible. The rainbow came after storms, and after all these difficult days, the season when sakura blossoms will come soon. During the time when my parents are not by my side, I do everything on my own. I had to sew and mend the clothes I had accidentally torn myself, which my parents will help me with these things normally. And apparently, my hands and skills are very poor. I would even hurt myself since I hardly did those chores myself. However, under special circumstances, I must learn to be independent and try to keep my life in order. I hope that the epidemic will end soon and my parents could return home healthily. I am really looking forward for our lovely family reunion.
My parents have been infected with the new coronavirus for several days and now they're in hospital. During this period of time, I was the only one to do housework, cooking, and taking care of my own life. I don't usually have the chance to do housework normally, and this time I'm responsible for everything in my life. It's really tiring and frustrated. This morning, I went downstairs and threw away all the garbage that had accumulated in our house since my parents were infected. It's a long way to take out the garbage. My arm was sore after I threw the garbage away. I can't do many things well, but in this case, I have to try. These days of living alone, I feel so helpless and lonely. I tried to adjust my mind in various ways, but no one worked. I couldn't concentrate on anything else. The school recently launched an online class, but I have no desire to study. I also try to express my feelings on social software, hoping that the comfort and the company of others can make me relaxed. But who cares? During this outbreak of this new virus, everyone is very panicked, hurrying to buy epidemic products. The most severe thing is that I worry about my parents all the time. Are they alright? When can they leave the hospital? When will I see them? I hope my parents can come back to me soon and safely.
My parents are the carriers of the outbreak, shuttling between hospitals and sorry sites. I was supposed to see them every morning and evening, but I haven't seen them for a month. My parents are driving a van to and from the hospital to deliver supplies. Every day, I live alone at home. My ability to take care of myself in daily life is not strong. A person's life let me feel lonely and helpless. I am accompanied only by my cat at home. But now, even taking care of this cat becomes a burden to me. I am constantly worried about whether my parents would get unzipping in the transit, and whether they would have accident due to fatigue.
But at this moment, as a student, I can only listen to the arrangement of the school and try to put my life in order. I'm a terrible cook. When my parents are away, I make a mess in the kitchen, but I keep at it. I hope my parents can come back to me soon and safely.
My parents were Vulcan construction workers during the pneumonia outbreak. I haven't had enough food for half a month and I haven't seen my parents for a long time. I still have a sick grandpa at home to look after. I had to struggle every day and couldn't go to school. I hope the epidemic would end soon. Because of the outbreak, my parents have no way to make money. The last of our family's savings were used to treat my grandpa. The food at home was almost gone, but I couldn't hear from my parents. I don't know if my parents are safe, and I don't know when my parents will be able to send money. I hope the outbreak can be resolved soon, and my parents can come home safely as soon as possible.
My parents are now doctors in Wuhan. When the epidemic broke out, they were quickly sent to the hospital to treat patients. I am taking classes online now. When I think of other children's parents always take care of them during this period, but I am alone staying at home, I feel sad and disappointing. Whenever it's time to eat meals, I will remember the dumplings made by my mother. In addition, every time my network connection gets stuck, I remember how my dad usually repaired the router. Every day, I see the news broadcast reporting the number of daily diagnoses, and my mood will fall to the bottom. Those patients needed treatment, but my parents are exposed to such a dangerous environment. There is a conflict between what my parents are doing and how am I thinking. I am surrounded by fear and loneliness. In order to maintain a normal study and life schedule, I often deceive myself that my parents can come back the next day. But as soon as the alarm clock goes off every morning, it interrupts my fantasies. I also need to wash my clothes by myself. I find it really tiring.